If you're always available, always replying, always showing up, always explaining yourself, this message is for you. Modern life rewards speed, accessibility, and constant presence. But quietly, it punishes those who give it too freely. The more available you are, the more invisible you become. Stoic philosophy understood a truth most people still resist. What is always accessible is rarely respected. When you give unlimited access to your time, energy, and attention, you teach others, without words, that your life has no boundaries. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about reclaiming control. When you stop being available, people begin to feel your absence. And in that space, everything changes. How they treat you, how they value you, and how you value yourself. Today, you'll learn 6 Stoic truths that explain why removing access restores power, clarity, and self-respect. Stay until the end, and if this resonates, comment below. My time has value. 1. Availability teaches people how to treat you. If people keep taking you for granted, it's not because they're cruel, it's because you taught them how. Your availability is a message, and people often pay more attention to actions than to words. When you reply instantly, cancel your own plans, or stay reachable at all times, you quietly signal that your time has no weight. Not intentionally, not consciously, but consistently. Over time, that consistency becomes an expectation, and the expectation becomes an entitlement. Stoic philosophy understood this long before modern psychology named it. Respect does not come from being liked. It comes from self-command. When you place no limits on access to yourself, you surrender authority over your own life. Being available feels generous, but unchecked availability slowly becomes self-erasure. Think about how value works in the real world. What is rare is protected. What is abundant is consumed. Your time, energy, and attention are no different. When they are endlessly accessible, they lose perceived worth, even if your intentions are good. Most people never decide to disrespect you. They drift into it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to guard where his energy went, because whatever you give your energy to becomes your master. When you make other people's demands your priority by default, you place your life below theirs, without ever saying it out loud. Modern culture rewards speed, fast replies, immediate availability, constant access. But speed trains people to expect you on demand. And once that expectation is set, slowing down feels like rejection to them, even though it's simply balanced to you. This is where guilt enters, and guilt keeps people trapped in patterns that drain them. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not obligated to be accessible to be worthy. Stoicism teaches that dignity begins with choice. When you choose when to engage, when to respond, and when to step back, you reclaim authorship over your life. You stop reacting and start deciding. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Epictetus warned that growth requires the courage to be misunderstood. When you stop being constantly available, some people will feel uncomfortable, not because you harmed them, but because you broke a pattern that benefited them. Pay attention to what happens next. It reveals everything. Some people adjust and respect your boundaries. Some push harder to regain control. Some disappear entirely. None of this is a loss. It is information. Your absence acts like a mirror, reflecting who valued you as a person and who only valued your convenience. This is not about manipulation. It is about alignment. A simple Stoic practice is to delay, not disappear, not ignore, but pause. Give yourself space before responding. Ask one quiet question. Is this worthy of my energy right now? That pause restores control to you, where it belongs. You don't need to announce boundaries. You demonstrate them through behavior. When your availability becomes intentional instead of automatic, people recalibrate how they treat you. And more importantly, you recalibrate how you see yourself. Your time becomes sacred. Your presence gains gravity. And for the first time, respect has room to grow, because access to you is no longer guaranteed. 2. When you're always there, no one feels your loss. When you're always present, your absence has no meaning, and without absence, there is no contrast. People don't miss what never leaves. They don't value what never withdraws. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, because it feels personal. You show up, you give, you stay consistent, and yet your effort seems invisible. Not because it lacks value, but because it lacks space. Without space, nothing is felt. Stoic philosophy teaches detachment, not as coldness, but as clarity. Detachment means you are no longer emotionally fused to outcomes or reactions. You engage by choice, not by compulsion. And the moment you do that, your presence stops being taken for granted. Closeness without boundaries creates numbness. Distance creates awareness. Think about any meaningful loss you've experienced. It wasn't the presence that changed you, it was the absence, the silence, the gap where something once existed. That gap forces reflection. It forces people to notice what they relied on without appreciating. When you're always available, people never experience that gap. They never sit with the feeling of not having access to you. And because of that, they never fully register your value. Marcus Aurelius wrote that peace comes from wanting things to happen as they do, not as we wish. Applied here, it means accepting a simple reality. People only understand value when access is limited. This is where many people panic. They fear being forgotten, so they stay visible, they stay responsive, they stay close, even when it costs them self-respect. But Stoicism warns against this trap. Chasing presence is a subtle form of fear. It says, if I step back, I might lose them. But the truth is harsher and more freeing. If stepping back makes you lose them, you never truly had them. When you reduce availability, reactions emerge. Some people reach out with genuine respect. Others react with irritation, guilt, or manipulation. Those reactions are not accidents. They reveal how the relationship was built in the first place. Absence does not punish. It clarifies. A powerful Stoic practice is intentional space. You don't announce it, you don't explain it. You simply stop overextending. You answer when aligned. You engage when present, and you allow silence to do its work. In that silence, people either grow closer in a healthier way, or they drift away. Both outcomes are victories because both remove illusion. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when you stop tying your peace to other people's responses. When you stop needing to be constantly present to feel secure, you regain control of yourself. Your value doesn't increase because you disappeared. It increases because you stopped begging to be felt. Let this settle. Your absence is not rejection. It is self-respect in motion. 3. Over-availability is self-betrayal. Over-availability doesn't start with generosity. It starts with fear. The fear of being replaced, the fear of being forgotten, the fear that if you're not always there, you'll stop mattering. That fear quietly pushes you to betray yourself, not all at once. Slowly. You say yes when you want to say no. You respond when you're exhausted. You stay accessible even when your energy is gone. And each time, you tell yourself it's not a big deal. But Stoicism teaches something uncomfortable. Every unnecessary yes is a silent no to yourself. Marcus Aurelius warned against living in a way that fragments the soul. When your actions don't align with your values, tension builds inside you. Over-availability creates exactly that tension. You feel drained, resentful, and unseen, not because others are evil, but because you abandoned your own boundaries. People think self-betrayal is dramatic. It isn't. It's quiet compliance. You don't wake up one day and decide to lose self-respect. You trade it away in small moments, answering when you should rest, giving when you should pause, staying reachable when you should step back. Stoicism draws a hard line here. You're not obligated to give everyone unlimited access to your life. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from knowing what is truly yours to control. Your time is yours. Your energy is yours. When you surrender them automatically, you hand over control without being asked. This is where resentment begins. Not toward others, but toward yourself. You start feeling used, underappreciated, invisible. But Stoic philosophy forces a harder question. Who set the rules of access in the first place? In most cases, you did, by never setting any. Self-respect is not loud. It is consistent. When you stop being constantly available, you begin repairing that inner fracture. You start honoring your own limits. You choose rest without apology. You prioritize alignment over approval. And yes, some people won't like it. That's the cost, and it's worth paying. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that it is better to live in harmony with reason than to chase admiration. Over-availability chases approval. Detachment restores integrity. A Stoic exercise here is brutally simple. Before you say yes, pause. Ask one question. If no one praised me for this, would I still choose it? If the answer is no, that yes is self-betrayal. You don't need to explain your shift. You don't need permission. When you reduce availability, you're not becoming selfish. You're becoming whole. You're closing the gap between who you are and how you act. And that inner alignment radiates outward in ways people feel, even if they don't understand it. Your energy stops leaking. Your presence becomes intentional. And for the first time in a long time, you stop abandoning yourself just to stay connected. 4. People change. When access is removed. When you remove access, behavior changes, not because you explained yourself, but because the rules quietly shifted. Most people don't reflect when everything stays the same. Unlimited access creates comfort, and comfort rarely produces awareness. But the moment you step back, even slightly, the relationship is forced to respond. Something has to move. Stoic philosophy teaches a simple rule. Watch what people do when they no longer get what they're used to. Words become unreliable in moments of adjustment. Patterns do not. When access is reduced, patterns surface. Some people adapt with respect. Others resist with pressure. Those who value you as a person recalibrate. They become clearer, more intentional. They ask instead of assume. They respect your time because they respect your agency. Access becomes mutual, not automatic. Others react differently. They push, they guilt, they question your change. Not because you harmed them, but because you disrupted a convenience. When someone benefits from your over-availability, your boundary feels like a loss to them. This discomfort is not your responsibility. It is their adjustment. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should not be disturbed by other people's actions, only by our judgments about them. Their reaction is not a verdict on your character. It's information about their expectations. This is where many people make a mistake. They rush to explain. They soften the boundary to avoid tension. They over-communicate to manage emotions that are not theirs. In doing so, they undo the very clarity the boundary created. Stoicism warns against this reflex. Silence, when chosen deliberately, is a form of strength. Silence gives no surface to argue with. It forces honesty. When you don't justify your absence, people are left alone with their assumptions. Some will self-correct. Others will reveal entitlement, insecurity, or a need for control. Either outcome brings truth to the surface. Distance doesn't damage real connection. It tests it. Healthy relationships survive space because they were never built on extraction. They don't require constant access to feel secure. They respect rhythm. They allow absence without panic. Unhealthy dynamics fail this test. And that failure is a gift. A Stoic practice here is intentional reduction, not disappearing, not punishing, simply doing less. Responding slower, saying no without elaboration. Observe what happens without interfering. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. Epictetus taught that suffering comes from trying to control what is not ours. You cannot control how others react to boundaries. You can only control whether you maintain them. When you stay consistent, reactions settle into truth. Here is the paradox most people miss. The less you chase connection, the more authentic it becomes. When access is no longer guaranteed, those who stay do so by choice, not habit. Their presence becomes intentional. Their respect becomes visible. Those who leave were attached to your availability, not to you. Losing them is not loss, it is relief. Many people fear this moment because it feels like rejection, but Stoicism reframes it. What's leaving is illusion. What remains is real. You don't need confrontation, you don't need closure. When access is removed, truth speaks without words. People either meet you at a healthier distance or exit the dynamic entirely. Both outcomes protect your peace. Your relationships may become fewer, but they become grounded. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop managing reactions. You stop explaining your right to choose yourself. And in that quiet recalibration, something stabilizes inside you. You realize you don't need universal approval to live with integrity. You only need alignment between your values and your actions. When access is removed, people change. But more importantly, you do. 5. You regain power. Without saying a word, power doesn't return when you explain yourself. It returns when you stop explaining. Most people think power comes from being understood, from making others see your reasons, your intentions, your side of the story. Stoic philosophy teaches a harder truth. The need to be understood is often the very thing that makes you weak. When you're constantly available, you are also constantly justifying why you didn't reply, why you're tired, why you chose differently. Each explanation seems harmless, even polite, but over time, it places you in a subtle position of inferiority, as if your life choices require approval. Silence breaks that pattern. Marcus Aurelius warned against wasting energy on defending your character. The moment you over-explain, you invite judgment. You step into a courtroom you never agreed to enter. Stoicism teaches restraint not as avoidance, but as authority. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is containment. When you stop being available, you also stop narrating your movements. You don't announce where you're going, why you're busy, or what you're prioritizing, and without realizing it, people begin to feel the shift. Not because you said anything powerful, but because you didn't. Power is felt in what you withhold. Think about how explanations really function. Often, they're not about clarity, they're about discomfort. You explain to relieve tension, to smooth things over, to prevent misunderstanding. But Stoicism asks a sharper question. Whose discomfort are you managing? If your explanation exists to calm someone else's anxiety at the expense of your own peace, that is not communication. That is emotional labor you were never asked to perform. When you remove that labor, dynamics change. People accustomed to unlimited access feel the absence immediately. They notice you're slower to respond, shorter in replies, less reactive. And in that gap, something interesting happens. They either rise to meet you with respect, or they push harder to regain control. Both responses are useful. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from wanting nothing from others. When you stop needing people to understand you, agree with you, or approve of you, their opinions lose leverage. Silence becomes a shield. You don't argue, you don't defend, you don't persuade. You simply continue living in alignment. This is where real power returns, not the loud kind, the quiet kind that doesn't flinch. When you don't explain, you stop feeding unnecessary debates. You conserve energy. You remain grounded. And grounded people are difficult to manipulate. Many fear this shift because they associate silence with rejection. But Stoic silence is not rejection, it is precision. You speak when words serve truth, not when they serve anxiety. Boundaries don't need speeches, they need consistency. When you stop explaining, people learn the boundary through experience. They feel where the line is without you drawing it in words, and lines felt are stronger than lines announced. Here is what surprises most people. Nothing collapses. The relationships that matter adjust. They respect your pace. They stop demanding immediate access. The ones that don't were never stable to begin with. They were built on convenience, not connection. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. A Stoic practice here is radical minimalism in speech. If a response is required, make it brief and neutral. If it's not required, allow silence, not to provoke, not to punish, but to preserve dignity. Notice how much pressure disappears when you stop explaining yourself. The constant need to perform fades. The urge to manage perceptions weakens. You begin to feel lighter, not because others changed, but because you did. Another practice is refusing the urge to correct misunderstandings that don't threaten your values. Not every false assumption deserves your energy. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that living well is the best reply to criticism. You're not obligated to correct every story told about you. You're obligated to live truthfully. When you stop being available and stop explaining why, your presence gains gravity. People sense that your attention is no longer guaranteed, and attention that is not guaranteed becomes valuable. Your calm becomes noticeable. Your words become fewer. Your decisions become final. This is not about appearing powerful. It is about being unmovable. When you no longer speak from defensiveness, you speak from choice. And when you no longer speak from choice, silence speaks for you. Power doesn't announce itself. It settles in. And when you finally stop saying everything, you reclaim the one thing that was always yours: authority over your own life. 6. Detachment is the highest form of control. Detachment is not indifference. It is freedom without bitterness. Most people confuse detachment with coldness because they've only seen it used as a defense. Stoic detachment is different. It is the decision to stop letting other people's reactions steer your inner world. You don't withdraw because you're hurt. You withdraw because you're clear. Control doesn't come from managing others. It comes from mastering your response. When you're overly available, your emotions stay on a short leash. A delayed reply triggers anxiety. A cold tone feels personal. Silence feels like rejection. Detachment lengthens that leash. It creates space between stimulus and reaction, and in that space, you choose who you want to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if something outside disturbs you, the disturbance is not in the thing itself, but in your judgment of it. Detachment is the practice of reclaiming that judgment. You stop assigning meaning automatically. You stop assuming intent. You stop taking the bait. You don't react faster. You react wiser. This shift changes everything. When you are detached, you no longer chase reassurance. You don't need immediate responses to feel secure. You don't need constant access to feel valued. Your sense of worth becomes internal, not negotiated in real time with other people. Detachment removes hooks, and without hooks, manipulation fails. People who rely on guilt, urgency, or emotional pressure lose leverage when you detach. Their tactics require your reaction. When you don't provide it, the tactic collapses. Not dramatically, quietly. Stoicism never taught people to cut everyone off. It taught them to cut dependency. There's a crucial difference. You can be warm and detached. present and detached, caring and detached. Detachment simply means your peace is not collateral damage in someone else's chaos. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Over-availability feeds imagination. Every delay becomes a story. Every silence becomes a threat. Detachment breaks that loop. You wait, you observe, you let facts replace fear. Stillness is not passivity, it is strength held in reserve. When you stop being available, detachment becomes practical. You no longer monitor reactions. You don't check messages compulsively. You don't scan for tone. You engage when it's aligned, not when you're anxious. That calm is felt by others immediately. People sense when they can't pull you, and they adjust. Some become more respectful. Some become distant. Some reveal resentment. None of this is a problem. It's feedback. Detachment turns emotional noise into clean data. You see who can meet you at a healthy distance and who only functioned when you were emotionally fused. A Stoic doesn't chase clarity. They allow clarity to arrive. This is why detachment feels so powerful. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop correcting perceptions. You stop managing impressions. And paradoxically, your presence becomes heavier because it's no longer needy. There is a discipline to this, and it must be practiced. A Stoic practice is the no-react rule. When something triggers you, don't respond immediately. Take a breath. Let the first impulse pass. Ask yourself one question: is my reaction improving my life or just discharging discomfort? Most reactions are the latter. Detachment keeps you from paying that cost. Another practice is no justify. Notice how often you explain yourself to preempt judgment. Detachment allows you to choose silence instead, not to provoke, not to punish, but to preserve dignity. You are not obligated to narrate your choices. Your life is not a press release. The third practice is no check back. After you set a boundary or reduce availability, resist the urge to monitor how it landed. Don't reopen the door emotionally. Let the boundary stand on its own. This is where most people break detachment. They step back, then lean forward to see if it worked. Detachment means you don't need confirmation. You trust your decision. You accept uncertainty. You understand that peace often requires not knowing how others feel about you and being okay with that. This is the highest form of control. Control over yourself. When you detach, you stop outsourcing your emotional regulation. You stop letting other people set your pace. You stop living in reaction mode. And in that stillness, your priorities become unmistakably clear. You sleep better. You think sharper. You act cleaner. People often ask when detachment becomes too much. It becomes too much only when it's fueled by resentment. Stoic detachment is fueled by self-respect. It doesn't harden you. It refines you. You become selective, not closed. Calm, not cold. Present, not available on demand. Here is the final paradox. Detachment deepens real connection. When you no longer cling, you show up honestly. When you don't fear loss, you stop performing. When you don't need validation, you become grounded. And grounded people are rare. That rarity changes how you are treated. Without effort, without explanation. You don't become distant from life. You become centered within it. And from that center, nothing pulls you without your consent. When you stop being available, you don't lose people. You lose illusions. Stoic philosophy was never about withdrawing from life. It was about standing firmly within it, without being pulled in every direction by other people's expectations. By choosing when to engage, when to speak, and when to step back, you reclaim something essential: authority over yourself. Throughout this message, one truth keeps returning. Respect does not come from constant presence. It comes from self-command. When access to you is no longer automatic, Your time gains weight, your silence gains meaning, and your presence regains power. Some people will adjust, some will leave. Both outcomes are honest, and honesty is always preferable to comfort built on self-betrayal. The Stoics understood that peace is not found in being needed, but in being aligned with your values. You're not here to be endlessly available. You are here to live deliberately. So practice restraint. Choose detachment without bitterness. Let silence do what explanations never could. And remember this: the moment you stop needing to be accessible to everyone is the moment you become fully available to yourself. If this resonated, take one step today. Protect your time, guard your energy, and let your life, not your explanations, speak.